Hi guys, it's Alyssa and welcome back to another dailyish video on my channel, The Divine Venus. So this is my third attempt at giving you an interception video and I hope that I nail it this time. So obviously my big thing on my channel is I like to take complex astrological things and simplify them for you to understand. Usually pretty good at that. The interception thing though has been a wild ride for me only because I also have interceptions. Now, disclaimer, some people don't like them at all. And those people are just not psychological astrologers, and therefore I don't need to give them any sort of more attention. If you're not into interceptions, you are not a psychological astrologer. That's perfectly fine. Don't make that anybody else's deal. Interceptions are usually found in a Placidus house system in astrology. Placidus or Cook. You're not going to find an interception if you do equal house systems. You're not going to find it in whole house systems, okay? So that's what you know. This is going to go, when astrologers read Placidus chart systems, they are getting into the psyche of a person. If you are reading whole sign, you are getting into the philosophy of a situation. They're two separate things. That's why you notice if you read your whole sign chart, it's going to be, for some people, it's different. And some people can't relate to certain things based on the way that their mind is wired. But if you have an astrologer who's studied Placidus and who knows some psychology, they will be able to pin you psychologically. Now, interceptions are, all signs fit this wheel and they are all 30 degrees. The houses shift in different housing systems to the point where a house can be like 60, 90, 180 degrees depending on where you are. So if the house is so big and there's 12 houses and 12 signs, that means some houses have to be smaller and others are larger. And the larger ones are going to be bigger than the signs, completely eating up a sign that is in a house, okay? Now, in a person's life, this is more than that. This means that you are missing out on a specific life event or characteristic that would make you whole. I like to call an interception the missing puzzle piece that, if found, would make you whole. You see, the difference between signs and houses, signs are pieces of you. Houses are life areas. That's why if you count down from the first, it's like, here I'm born. Second, I've learned value in myself. Third, I'm aware of my siblings and I'm starting to talk. Fourth, this is my family and my situation. 5, I'm learning how to create. 6, I gotta deal with mundane daily crap and bore myself or not. And so all of these houses are each a piece of your life, but they are not telling of your situation in life, who you are, what you're bringing to the world, what pieces. So if you're missing a whole entire sign in your chart, you're missing a piece of the universe to balance you. You don't have it, or at least you feel that way. And usually interceptions are found in anybody who's kind of born of a place where there is something that they have not been afforded. Sometimes you can be born in these situations and not have an interception. And usually that's because you don't need the interception. Does this make sense? Like, you're not missing it. There was something, you didn't need it. You could have a sibling, say, who doesn't have an interception, but you do. And it's like, why are you missing this piece that somebody else is not missing? And that's right next to you. And it's maybe because they got it and you didn't. Maybe you're missing some form of love and affection from your parents because for some reason you polarized them a little bit, where your sibling fit perfectly into that situation. And this is the way. Whatever it may be, it's unique to you and it can be read in your chart based on the housing position, any planets that might be intercepted, and the signs. Okay, so I will show you really quick what an interception is not in Placidus or Cook. Even when I explain this, a lot of people still ask me if they have one and they don't. So just try to count it out. If you have a house that is greater than 30 degrees, you have an interception. If you don't have a house that is greater than 30 degrees, you don't have an interception. An interception is not this. See this? See how you have one sign right here. So you have Aries ruling the rising, and then you have Taurus in the first house right there. But you see, that's not an interception, and the reason why is because Taurus, follow it down a little bit longer, and you'll see that Taurus hits the second house and rules the second house, meaning that it is not void of rulership, meaning it is not intercepted. But let's look at what one is. Now here you have someone with a Pisces rising. Go down a little bit, and there's Aries. Aries ain't ruling nothing. Follow it down. Is it ruling the second house? No, Taurus is. See that? That is what an interception looks like. Now let's look at a double. When you have an interception, you're gonna have one sign that connects two houses or more. So here, look at this one. This is what it looks like to have double. That is Sagittarius in the 9th house and Sagittarius ruling the 10th. That is what the double looks like. So when you pull up your own chart, you can do that on astro.com, Cafe Astrology. I'm showing you on astro.com, so if it's easier sometimes to see what I'm showing you and then re-look at it in a chart that's exactly like created the same way. That's why I like to only go to one site. Then you can kind of find your charts. Now I am going to go through the signs, but I'm going to first leave up a little thing right over here. This is going to be here. Descriptions of the life areas, the houses. I'm not going to go into each one because really, honestly, it's just like re-describing the houses over and over again. Once you get to know the houses and you see that this is a life area, you kind of see that if you're missing something within that life area, so you would say, I am missing blank in the life area of blank. Okay, so I'm going to tell you what you're missing based on the signs, but the life area is not going to change, because the life area is not the one intercepted, it's the one doing the interceptions, right? And then I will tell you a little bit about what it means to have the double. Real quick, this is like an extra thing. If you are born closer to the poles or in other situations, you might have 4 interceptions. Usually you have 2. If you have, say, Aries interception, your opposite will be Libra. They will both be intercepted because that's the way that math works. It's a balance. So sometimes people might have 4 or even 6 interceptions. My sister is adopted from Russia. She actually lived in a place called Magadan, which is very close to Siberia. And she was the first chart that I ever looked up in my younger years where I was like, oh, damn. Because her chart, she has her 1st, 2nd, and 3rd houses in 7th, 8th, and 9th houses. They are tiny, like tiny, tiny. And her 5th house and her 6th house and her 11th and her 12th house were huge, okay? She actually has 4 interceptions, one in the 12th and the 6th, and one in the 11th and one in the 5th. It might seem daunting to read that, but it can be read. I just want you to know. Like my sister grew up in Magadan, which means up until she was, 14 years old, she had never experienced climate that was warmer than 60 degrees. She also grew up in an orphanage. So when you think about that, you think about how there are certain key aspects of her life based on circumstances, which a lot of them were based on climate. And that's why I think that there are more interceptions in people who live in these areas. When you live closer to the poles, you're going to be experiencing that your life might be missing out on something. Psychologically, it's going to be different for you, but you will find them. So if you do have more interceptions, do not be afraid. This also gives you more of a genius in other areas as well, because you have the double. But if you have more than one interception, you're going to have more houses in one sign, which is going to make that Lord, that ruler, super strong for you. And so that's something that you can be proud of, because it's almost like if you're missing something, you make up for it with something great. Like you're really dumb in this area, but because of that, you've had to put your energy into a different area, right? And so you become better at it. It's like your crutch. Like you had to make up for something in a different way, which is just about adaptation in childhood. And that's why children adapt. Okay, so we're gonna go through from Aries to Virgo, because Aries will be with Libra, Taurus and Scorpio, Gemini and Sagittarius, Leo and Aquarius, Virgo, and Pisces, okay? So we're gonna start with Aries and Libra. So if Aries and Libra are intercepted, this is about knowing thyself. You feel knowing thyself in a very philosophical sense, not in a realistic sense. You feel like there is definitely a missing piece, and that missing piece in your life is you. Who are you? Where did you come from? Why are you even here? Does anybody care? Who cares? What is life? What is this place? You're looking for that identity. And when you're looking for that identity, you're gonna make up for it in other ways. For instance, I have an Aries Libra interception. I have a double Sagittarius Gemini. So you could say that I made up for my lack of identity with my personal need to be a human encyclopedia. So because I am missing the Aries Libra, I've identified myself with what I know and not necessarily who I am. So over time, you got to find yourself better. So you might not have that Gemini Sagittarius double like I do, and in which case go to the timestamp to find out what you have to see, what you've made up for it with. But with Aries and Libra, you might not have had that spotlight shined on you or your own unique gifts to find out who you naturally are. And you might have felt like you were just one of many, or that you needed to be like the authority system or your family in order to connect. And so therefore you just became a shell of yourself to give to other people, to become like them. And nothing about you ever really stood out or was looked at by somebody else. So you're consistently digging for that truth of you. With the Aries and Libra too, you see others as having the answers to yourself. So this might make you go seek out guides, seek out people to help you, seek out astrology, seek out things that other people have in order to see yourself. You might treat people as if they are mirrors. If you can emulate them, you can figure yourself out better, right? You can wear people like clothing and try it on for a little while. But ultimately, everything feels like it's this heavy mask on top of you and you're lost underneath it. Wearing other people's clothes is never as thrilling as being vulnerable and naked, but it's impossible to be vulnerable when you don't know yourself. So over time, in order to find that wisdom within who you are, as opposed to who others want you to be, and as opposed to how you see yourself in others, you learn to really find yourself at the bottom of all of that, taking off all the layers. Something that we can do with Aries and Libra interceptions that's really actually pretty bad, and that gets in the way, is when we start to see pieces of ourselves. We start to find pieces of ourselves that we're like, that is me. And then you see it in someone else. Someone might be famous or in a position of authority, or maybe in your field or your colleague in some way. And you're like, I'm like that. And then you start to think, so I'm completely like that. And you follow that person's lifeline down and not even realizing that you are now taking off your own identity path. So eventually you have to pull yourself away and center yourself on you. A long time ago, I saw Megan Fox talk about astrology. And obviously a lot of people know now at this point, she talks about astrology. Right after that point, I was like, oh, we both like astrology, and we found out the same way. Our husbands are the same age gap between us. We have a lot of the same energy, and her sun was conjunct my moon. And I was like, okay, I want to be like her. So I dyed my hair black because I figured I would look good like that. And I never, ever looked as good as her with my hair black. I just didn't. I don't. That's not my journey. That seems kind of weird, but it's definitely an aesthetic choice that I chose based on one piece of her made me feel like maybe I should wear that, which was dumb. And it threw me off my own path because her path is hers, mine is mine. So if I'm talking to you guys, what I would do with an Aries Libra interception is just always be very careful that you do not see others as who you are meant to be. You always go back to yourself. You will find that love strictly for who you are and not for who you're pretending to be. Because Libra is relationships, your parents possibly had a bad marriage, or maybe there's no authority to tell you that marriage, the way that you're supposed to functionally address the love of your life or a spouse. And so you're just kind of very confused about what it means to have real functional non-toxic relationships with other people, especially if you're looking for yourself in them. And so it's important to also try to fully get to know yourself as much as possible before getting close to somebody else, because it's so easy to just, in friendships, rub off, like have them rub off on you, or in a relational system, want your spouse or your partner to take over for you, so you no longer have to worry about finding self, which then takes away a lot of your power. Working through all these things, you find out that you are you, and that is your truest gift, and people will love you for it. People will accept you for it, and that is what will eventually make you feel whole. If you have a Taurus or Scorpio interception in any house, these are based on money and value. So immediately the first thing when I see these in a chart, I think you either came from a place of being poor or privilege. Now, this depends on the rest of your chart, how you viewed your situation as well. But because it's intercepted, it's either like you've never had to really work for money, or money was this thing that was never really given to you, right? It's not anything that you were born knowing about. So what happens then on a more psychological scale is that you know value to be found in other people. Other people hold a lot of value, but you don't. You don't have that same value in yourself like you see it in other people. And this can make you feel like, yeah, I might be able to identify myself. I have an identity, but do I like that version of me? And that can even be because the authority took away your value, stripped you of your value, which you look at money. Say if all you are is just, say, an Aries and you were born into money, you are stripped of your value because you are just born into it. You're an Aries, you can have whatever you want. That's all you are. You're constantly proving your value, your worth. But on the flip side, you were born into nothing. You come into school with shitty shoes, shitty clothes, and that's how people look at you and they judge you and they take away your value and your worth because you don't dress like them. You aren't up to par. And this would very much psychologically affect you. And so say you have a Taurus Scorpio interception because this happened, but your sibling had the same situation and they don't feel that same way. And that's because they didn't psychologically identify with that the way you might have, okay? So this might also just be, maybe you had money, maybe everything was normal, but you had a parent or authority consistently tell you that you were worthless, that you didn't hold value. So you would see this and think, okay, I don't have value, so I will look for my value within somebody else. This can make you very sexually promiscuous. I say that because I'm not trying to get down on it or slut shame anybody, but it can make you feel like I will connect with somebody sexually and I will receive value through that. And you might for a little while, but eventually it gets old until you find that value within yourself. This can also mean you want to connect with somebody who has money, so that all of a sudden you feel valuable. Or if you have the money, connect to somebody who's wild and careless and free. That way you can feel what that might be like to be known without those barriers on you. So you're looking for value based on yourself, not value based in other people. And so that takes some time. And you can find out how you made up for that by seeing what signs you have double of, okay? So you can kind of find that timestamp after this and go look for that to see, hey, yeah, I actually have double Cancer and Capricorn, so I made up for it and how hard I worked on building my empire, You will, with that interception, find money. I know this seems a little bit weird, but you'll understand and how to have a really whole grip on money, on your ability to hold money and keep it, and it's yours. It doesn't belong to somebody else. No one's going to take it from you. And while you're finding that money, you'll find out that metaphorically, you also are finding that value and that pride in yourself, that you see who you are and you're like, I hold value. I am special because I am me. And that is what's going to give you that wholeness that you want. That is Taurus and Scorpio. If you have a Gemini or Sagittarius interception, these are both based on the mind. They are the only two signs based on the mind. Everyone else is this like love, nurture energy in some way, self, others, etc. But this is where you get to like, what do I know? And when you are missing out on that Gemini Sagittarius, I like to say that you could come from a place of either being like born into a very religious family or very not religious family. And how you would get this interception is because you psychologically identified with the opposite. When we say I have a religion that's very tightly wound and that's very hard to leave. Like if you leave this religion, you could be excommunicated with by your own parents. But say that you were born into that. This was your entire life, but you never fully connected to that religion. Therefore, one day you upped and left. Then looking for the truth of your religion while you're actually cut off from everything and everybody that you know. But you realize at that time you've always been cut off from what you truly were meant to know. This can go in the other way too, is like maybe you really, really wanted some form of religion in your life, some dogma, some understanding of something greater than you in the Sagittarius philosophical sense, but your parents were just atheist or agnostic and just didn't care. And it wasn't about that. You never even had conversations of God or the universe. In that sense, it could be a very similar situation. This is definitely based on your own understanding too. So you might have had a sibling that didn't feel that way. It was up their alley. They were cool with it. They're like, oh, it's fine. I like this. I know it. I get it. But for you, that wasn't the case. And so that's why you are missing these two things. What you would believe in your life is that everything is unknown, that maybe there are no answers to anything, that you will never find the truth of existence because it might not be out there. But that's why you keep looking. You keep trying to investigate. You keep trying to find it. And you might wear religions and might run away and try to find freedom. But you always come back to this need to belong. And because it's gonna be like you're wearing it like a mask or like extra clothes. Like I'm gonna wear this religion. Yeah, this isn't working, so I'm gonna take this off. I would say if someone with a lot of religious tattoos and different sort of cultures or cultural tattoos might have a Gemini Sagittarius interception just because of trying to put it on the body in some way to be like, no, this is what I know. I know this, and it's going on me so that I can be reminded of it because I keep feeling like I'm losing everything that I know, which you are, but it's transforming. And eventually you're going to find out what you actually have always known, that you were born with the wisdom of the ages and that it was lost based on your circumstances. And that's what you're trying to refine. You're trying to refine your mind that was taken from you through your authority in your life. You are destined for faith and destined for the truth of this reality. You will find it, but it's always going to be within. It's never going to be without. But I do know that in this situation with the interception, you're probably consistently chasing that freedom down, chasing that knowledge down. You're looking for it. And each time you find it, it's like, that's not enough. And it's because realistically, it all goes back into you and what you've always had. And you're just refinding yourself throughout your life. And eventually you'll get you and you will have that true faith that belongs to you. Okay, now if you have an interception of Cancer and Capricorn, this is when you are missing that nurturing support of a loving family, as well as the ability to believe that you could build an empire all of your own. This can mean that you didn't grow up in a very nurturing family, or it can also mean you didn't have a family at all, or quite the opposite, that you had a smothering type of family. Whatever it is, there's a feeling that Cancer energy is this feeling of internal growth that wasn't supported in the way that you needed it to. So when you're not internally supported, nurtured correctly, how can you grow that tree? How can you get those branches out into the world to build that empire that you're trying to build, that you really, really need in your life? That you feel like it's like a deep desire to build this true empire that you know you have in you, but your roots are so built in sludge, they can never really hold on to anything. Therefore, every time you try to build something, it collapses. It's like a castle in the sky with no actual physical reality that you can see. This can make you a big dreamer in a lot of senses too, because you're like, well, one day I'll go and do this. But first you have to kind of put yourself into the ground, replug yourself in and find that about yourself. I thought of Cancer and Capricorn interception as like chasing cars. And that makes sense a lot when you think of like a dog chasing cars. A dog is Cancer energy because a dog is nurturing and supportive and loving and licks your wounds, you know, very Cancer energy. And when a dog just likes to chase cars, and sometimes a dog can chase the car so far it gets lost and it can't find its home again. And that's you, because you already you already carry all of the nurture, all of the love of the earth within you. You were born of this earth. Even if you don't feel ever connected, even if you are wounded, like dogs can be wounded by their owners, by the authority, but doesn't mean that they're wounded forever. They forget when they find a loving home, they pick up the pieces and they go back and they feel good and invited and they're happy again. And that's the way that you can be, because you are made to be nurtured by the earth, even if you've lacked the nurture from authority. So in this case, you might sometimes find that you're just running off looking for this car that's going to take you to the best place that you can be. And once you're there, you're like, I don't know if I can go home again. I don't know if I can ever be rooted. And so you have to sometimes break down, stop what you're doing and restart again on your own time, and not chase these cars, chase these wild dreams or other people's ambitions, but find your own based on what this earth and what this world wants you to build. You don't need to be building castles in the sky. You need to be building your castle here on earth, rooted in everything. And so that's the biggest thing that you will eventually have, is you are destined for success. You will gain success even if you're not rooted. It's just on whether you're going to build that on a rock or on the sand. And if you build things on the sand, they tend to fall in the land. I don't know. That should work. There should be a rhyme there, shouldn't there? I think so. So now if you have an Leo or Aquarius interception, this is where you kind of believe that royalty is not a birthright, but it's something that you can earn. And you're like, why do you believe that? See, I know people with Leo, Aquarius interceptions are very wildly like concerned about other people. They don't feel like they can really connect or have a group with somebody else, like that Aquarius side, that there's no connection there because that mob might be after them, might be trying to take what's theirs, because they feel like what's theirs is something that they've had to work really hard for, that it's not a birthright. Now, normally people without the Leo, Aquarius interception know what is their birthright. They have that feeling inside of them. Aquarius also rules dreams. So what they see is they see in other people, these are other people's dreams or other people's birthrights. And they're like, I could do that. And I will work really hard to do that. And I will build this up. And this will be the castle that I put my throne on and that I sit like the Leo that I am. But in reality, that was not their birthright. That was not their throne. They just worked really, really, really hard for it. It's like then they're paranoid their whole life, working really hard, feeling like an imposter in somebody else's castle. And the thing is that the Leo Aquarius interception, you will find that acceptance and you will find that castle that belongs to you. But while you were growing up, you probably were taught in some way, shape, or form that nobody deserves anything, that nobody is truly special, that the idea of the king and queen is a falsehood. And so maybe that was being like really into fairy tales, say, and then just having that illusion shattered when your father, leaves your mother. I mean, that's on a simple term, but that can happen. Or maybe it's the idea that you are in a country that has a king or a queen, and you knowing that that is such a big thing in your life and in your culture and society, and that you are like, well, I have these big ambitions, these dreams to rise to a position like that, but apparently it's always only in a birthright, and I don't have any birthright, so I must be nothing. So I must work really, really hard to climb to this position, to create something like that for myself. What we miss out on in any of these situations that might have happened to you is that you do have a birthright. And you do have the community that will accept you. But it's not about climbing into other people's castles through the windows. It's not about fighting or working extra hard to prove that you are something special. It's about understanding that when it's your true birthright, you'll ease into that. You'll fly into it. and it won't be hard to maintain because no one else will let anybody take that birthright from you either. You don't want to spend your whole life viewing other people as threats to your existence. You want to view people as your supportive group and community, being able to build that into your own kingdom, because everybody's life is meant for something. We all have the gold at the end of the rainbow that is meant for us. And life is a journey, it's not a destination. I don't know, this is kind of religious, so I apologize about that, but I feel like it works as a good metaphor. They say that it's not through acts that you get into heaven, but through your heart. And heaven as the idea of the kingdom, as this beautiful place that you can live that would make you happy in this lifetime, not after you're dead, but now here. You would see that it's not about putting that pressure on you, that you need to be this natural genius who gets it on the first time and who works harder than everybody. That doesn't have to be you. It just has to be your heart. Is your heart in the right place? Is your heart aligned with your truest gifts and your vision for yourself? Because you can find success with this Leo Aquarius interception, but will you be happy? Or will you feel weighted down by the burden? And that is the Leo Aquarius. The last interception is Virgo and Pisces. I like to call the Virgo Pisces interception the creature of bad habits. You know, like how you're a creature of habit, but you're like a creature of bad habits. And so this can stem from anybody who grew up in a situation where their parents were very different than them. And I mean like different, because everybody has like all of the interceptions, you're growing up with something that is, you know, something's different from you, something that you're not getting because, you know, the authority that is around you like doesn't have your best interests. That's what happens. That's what creates this interception. And so you feel very polarized by them and you feel like you're missing something. But imagine that that is based on Virgo, which is your physical reality. That means like you were born and you're like, damn, who the F are these people? And who do they think that I am? Because this is not me. My son is born with a Virgo and Pisces interception. And when I first saw that, I was like, no, I don't want that. You know, like I was so scared for him. I didn't know how that was going to show up in his life, but now I see it. And the reason is me and my husband and my daughter are all very like, we're night owls. We are ruled by this moon energy of like the night. We are creatures of the night, much more omega than alpha. My son, however, is like the sun. He's like a Leo. He wants to wake up at 6 a.m. He wants to watch the sunrise. And when he watches the sunrise, he explains it like it was magical. And I think about the sunrise and I'm like, oh my God, that sounds awful. Why would you ever want to look at that? So you see that like his entire routine and structure was different than mine, than his entire family. I have to start to be aware of that and give him a routine and a structure that fits him, that's separate from me and what I need and my needs. And so it's very like separating type of energy. You might have had it like that, or it could be like an extreme version of you were born taking care of yourself. Like nobody else took care of you. Your family was gone. You grew yourself up. You made yourself who you are today and taught yourself your own routine. You become a huge perfectionist, okay? This huge need to, you could say, count your calories, maintain a certain weight. Virgo's that body part. It can be like you are so structured by this, like, I have to do everything at this exact time and no mistakes. Or it could be like, this is not the way that I wanted it to be. And you immediately have a little like freak out because there was no energy around you saying, hey, some things don't go as planned, but this is how we make up for it. You're missing that ability to adapt to a new situation. So instead of adapting to the new situation, you just try to keep the situation as it is. You can even become controlling and isolating in this. Or on the flip side, you can go that Pisces route and just choose to spend as much time in one area of life so that you don't have to control a million different areas. You know, like you could just say, I wake up and I take 5 hours to get ready and I say in my head, because having to go on with the day and structure that is going to be very, very difficult for me. So I'd much rather just sit here for a long time, and that can happen as well. So what you're learning how to do is find a very healthy balance of these energies, this big picture versus tiny details, and to relearn how to live your best life, as opposed to the one that you gave yourself as a kid when you were too dumb to, but you were too dumb to know how to actually do it. And I say dumb's the wrong word because you're kids, but like when a kid is younger and they don't know rules or structure and they start making their own, they make them based on a child's needs. And as an adult, if you're still living by those needs, you're not living balanced, and you lose part of yourself and you lose a lot of your happiness to that. Okay. So it is trying to refine what you want and how you want to go about living your best life. You might even try to find certain scheduling systems or something that you take on for yourself so that you can figure out how the best way to do it is. You may not know the best way to schedule yourself, but a master scheduler would, so you might follow that. I don't know, there's like dot journaling? I don't know, there's a bunch of different journaling systems and stuff. Anyway, you're trying to find yourself to get out of those bad habits and to get into good, healthy habits. And once you do that and you maintain a healthy lifestyle, you might actually even go, full-blown vices or full-blown clean energy as well. You can get into these things without finding that balance. So you're learning how to adapt to situations that are out of your control, and you're learning how to find the truth of your existence within a balanced situation, and not because you are a perfectionist or giving up all of your energy for somebody else to deal with. Okay, so now that we have your interceptions, now you need to go and look. If you had a sign that is not ruling a house, that means another sign has to be ruling at least 2 signs. So if you have Aries, Libra working on 2 or more houses as one of their signs, you are extra gifted in yourself. You know your identity, you understand other people. And this is weighted then on those 2 signs, that at least you know yourself. Like you can always say that, even if other things are going wrong and that there is a problem with an interception in your house, you can look back at you and be like, okay, I'm going to go recenter myself. I know who I am. I know how good I am at this, and I will refine that, and then I will go forward again. This also means you do understand healthy relationships, how to have a relationship. Or you might decide, I don't want a relationships because they're going to bring me outside of this problem, and because I fully understand relationships. I understand relationships more than other people do, so I don't want it in my life. And so it's no longer about, oh, I fell in love. It's more about, I've structured myself and my view of myself with other people, and I see it as a logical form of living as opposed to something I have no control over. And so you're really good at understanding that energy in your life, yourself compared to other people and other people compared to you. Now, if you have a double Taurus and Scorpio, this means that you understand the value of money and the value of yourself and other people. Someone with extra Taurus or extra Scorpio that would have a great ability to make money, okay? So in some way, shape, or form. So when you start to rely on that energy, you're stabilizing, you are secure, you don't need other people's money, or if you do need it, you know exactly how to get it, you're smart about it. You don't see money as something that just comes and goes. You have a lot of control over how you get it. You know how to get it. It's not an elusive thing that you're confused about. It just is this energy exchange. And so you think about that as sex too. Sex is an energetic exchange, therefore you're very intelligent about who you're going to be exchanging energy with. A lot of times someone with a double Taurus Scorpio is going to fall in that Taurus energy and be like, I have value in myself and I'm going to close myself off to everybody. Why? Because I'm smart about everybody else out there. I can see what they are and who they are, and I will only use them when I absolutely need to because I'm going to maintain that value in myself. That is the Taurus Scorpio double energy. Now, if you have Gemini, Sagittarius, double energy, this is about you utilizing your mind, your intelligence, what you know. You can be very philosophical in your understanding of things, but you also really like to base everything on a logical understanding. So this means that you use your logic, your investigative skills in order to get to the bottom of whatever you're missing. You might be an expert researcher, or before you even dive into anything, you're willing to look at it from a different perspective and say, okay, this is how I'm going to do it. Because you really do rely on your mind to get you to where you need to go. You're not going to rely on other parts of your life to carry you through. It's going to be on that logical mind, even maybe over the philosophies. I feel like when you have the Sagittarius double 2 on the other end, you're very philosophical and you get that too. So you tend to carry and take in a lot of energy to be a human encyclopedia, because if you know everything, then you don't have to worry about those things that you're missing. If you have a double Cancer and Capricorn, this is like having your cake and eating it too energy, okay? So if you are missing something, but you have this, like, this is cool. This is what I wish that I had. Because it means that there's you are rooted. You have that Cancer energy, you are nurturing to yourself, to others, you experience the nurture, you know how to get it from other people, which means you know how to nurture your roots, you know how to build your life on a rock. And that double Capricorn means that you have this vision of your future and the empire that you want to build. You really understand the value of work and how much time and energy goes into making something happen. So when you do end up building yourself a future, a life, you're good at it. It's just in your bones to build, to plant yourself and to grow your branches out into the world. You might spend a lot more time planting yourself than other people, just because of that energy that you know that the best way to build what you want is to have good roots. And so for other people might think that you're taking it slow in your life, but in reality, you're being intelligent and you're being smart. You're building those roots and you're growing slowly because you see and you get it. You're smart about this energy. If you have a Leo Aquarius double, you have a very strong connection with your birthright and with your place in this world. You understand your dreams, you understand other people's energy, the community, the value of the network over there, but you also really see that this is what your heart wants, this is what you were born for, and this is what you're gonna go get. It's really hard to stand in your way, even if you're missing something. Maybe, you know, because you have that interception, maybe that interception is Gemini, Sagittarius, and you feel like you don't know what the truth of existence is, but you got the Leo Aquarius double, so you're like, at least I know myself. I know my heart, and it's gonna take me somewhere, you know? And that's the greatest part about this. It's a very good genius energy to have, because your heart is always gonna guide you, even if you don't have that guiding light from another place. And you're always gonna be understanding of the plight of others and a great humanitarian when you do get into that energy. When you find your own power and your own birthright, that your ability to care for the people is going to be huge on your list of things to do. Okay, if you have a double Virgo and Pisces, this means you are very understanding of your physical body and the universe, basically. You have this good divide. You have a balance between Virgo, which is details, and Pisces, which is the big picture. You see the big picture and you see yourself in that. And so in this energy, you really do understand how to achieve the things you want to achieve. You want to put yourself out there. You see, okay, how this is what it's going to look like later, but right now I know I got a plan and I'm going to put my routine together. I'm going to set goals and I'm going to make this happen. You have a lot of strength in this area. You know how to balance yourself to get yourself to a sure existence in this universe. All right, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will be back later. Okay, bye.